Afterwards, the surgeon came out with a very puzzled look. He said, I have all the x-rays right here that show all the cancer, but when we went in, we couldn't find any cancer. You are perfectly healthy. They had no explanation. These were some of the leading experts, one of the most renowned hospitals in the world. That was God doing what only He can do. I want to talk to you today about it's still going to happen. We all have things that we're believing for. We prayed, we've done our best, but the medical report hasn't improved. We didn't get the promotion. We haven't met the right person. We wanted to go back to school, but nobody supported us. Tried to start our business. We had opposition, delays, people did us wrong. Now we think it wasn't meant to be. But we may have given up. The good news is God hasn't given up. He doesn't abort dreams. He's called the author and the finisher of our faith. The dreams He's whispered in your spirit, the promises you're standing on, it may be too much for you, but it's not too much for Him. He's saying today, it's still going to happen. You're still going to get well. You're still going to meet the right person. You're still going to have that baby. You're still going to pay your house off. You're still going to break that addiction. You're still going to see your children fulfill their purpose. See, sometimes you just need faith spoken over you. Words have power. When you've heard for so long that it's not going to happen, that negativity can take root. You have to let all that go and by faith receive this phrase into your spirit, it's still going to happen. Now every voice may tell you the opposite. There's no way. It would have happened by now. You don't have the resources. You tried before and it didn't work out. Let that go in one ear and out the other. Don't get in agreement with the doubt. Get in agreement with God. You don't have to see how it's going to happen. All you have to do is believe. Start declaring favor over your life. Start talking like it's going to happen. Start thanking God that He's working. And when those negative thoughts come, telling you it's too late, just answer back, no thanks, it's still going to happen. In the face of doubt, negative voices, people telling you it's not going to work out, it's very powerful to answer back with this declaration of faith, it's still going to happen. You're saying, God, my hope is in You. I know You're the all-powerful creator of the universe. What You promised will come to pass. No person can stop Him. No sickness, no addiction, no delay. All the forces of darkness cannot stop what God has purposed for your life. The only one that can stop Him is you. If you get discouraged, negative, lose your passion. It says in Psalms, they limited the Holy One of Israel. God told them they were going to go into the promised land. Along the way, they had delays, setbacks, opposition. That was all a part of God's plan. But what we do in the difficult times will determine whether we see the fullness of our destiny. And they got discouraged and started complaining. What are we going to eat out in the desert? How are we going to survive? Those people in the promised land are too big. They look like giants. We don't have a chance. The whole time God was whispering, it's still going to happen. I'm in control. I'm going to defeat those enemies for you. I have provision for every season. But they let the doubt, what they saw, talk them out of what God promised. Don't be like them. God puts things in our spirit on purpose that are too big for us. There was a man in the scripture named Zerubbabel. God put the dream in his heart to rebuild the temple in Jerusalem. The king gave him permission to start the project. And he took 50,000 men and they laid the foundation. It took 2 years. They were so excited. They had a big celebration, singing, dancing, trumpets blowing, cymbals clashing. The scripture says the people let out a great shout, praising God because the foundation had been laid. Zerubbabel knew God's favor was on his life. Everything was falling into place. The supplies, the people, the foundation looked beautiful. And they were about to start the next phase when opposition arose. The enemies of Judah heard about the progress and they didn't like it. They didn't want the temple rebuilt, so they started stirring up trouble. It's amazing how when you start to make some progress, you see favor, promotion, how that stirs people up. Jealousy, gossip, slander. They had no problem with Zerubbabel as long as he was average. Stay in your corner, don't make any waves. But God has put greatness in you. He's called you to stand out, to be a difference maker, to take your family to a new level. Don't be surprised when you take steps of faith. You get out of your comfort zone and You start the business, go back to school, you break the addiction, you get your family back in church. If you don't see people find fault, criticize, why are they doing that? They want you to stay average. They want you to be mediocre, but that's not your destiny. God is going to take you places where no one in your family has gone. They sent a letter to the king saying that Zerubbabel and the people of Judah were troublemakers, that they weren't going to pay their taxes, that they were trying to take over the city, none of which was true. They were so convincing that the king issued an order stopping all construction. No work could be done. Week after week went by, month after month, even year after year. The foundation just sitting there empty, weeds growing up, the property run down. You can imagine Zerubbabel stopping by at night and walking around, seeing the lumber starting to rot and the supplies going to waste. Thought, God, I know you told me to rebuild. I know I was doing the right thing, but all this opposition, these people lied about me. The authorities have been poisoned. God, it's not fair. He was discouraged. Thoughts told him, you wasted your time. It's never going to work out. Just go back home. But God doesn't make a promise and then change his mind. He doesn't speak something to you and then let the circumstances talk him out of it. The scripture says everything serves his plan. We're not going to understand everything that happens, but the right attitude is, God, this doesn't make sense to me, but I trust you. I know it's serving your plan. Well, 16 years later, the foundation was still just sitting there. Nothing had changed when two prophets showed up, Zechariah and Haggai. They said, Zerubbabel, it's time to start rebuilding the temple. You could have thought, what do you mean? Do you realize it's been 16 years? Do you know what we've been through? What hasn't worked out? Who's against us? I thought this project was done. Zechariah said, no, Zerubbabel, God sent us to tell you it's still going to happen. I love how Zerubbabel responded, because he could have made excuses. We tried and it didn't work out. The opposition is still there. I'm too old, man. I missed my chance. No, the scripture says Zerubbabel rose up and began the task of rebuilding the temple. Every thought tried to talk him out of it, keep him defeated. But when he heard God say it's still going to happen, he rose up. That means he got in agreement with God. He started thinking differently. Yes, this is my time. He started talking differently. I'm equipped, empowered, anointed. The favor of God is on my life. He took steps of faith, got his men back together, got his passion back, his fire back, and they started rebuilding. Well, the same critics went back to the king. They went back to the king, said, this man we told you about, he's trying to rebuild the temple again. You have to stop him. This time it was a new king. There had been a change in leadership. And sometimes God has to move someone out for your dream to come to pass. He has to weed out the wrong people so he can put people in that will serve. I talked to a lady that had been healthy her whole life, very strong, energetic, vibrant. She noticed she wasn't feeling well. She had some digestive issues. She went to get checked out. And after many tests, she was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Didn't look good at all. The doctors told her that the demise would happen quickly, that while she was able, she needed to get everything in order, make out her will, visit with family members. They gave her less than a year to live. Of course, she was devastated. She never saw this coming. Sometimes we face these unexpected challenges. And that's when the enemy works overtime in our mind. This is the end, man. Too bad. You'll never get well. Never see your children graduate. Just accept it. When we start dwelling on the negative, we're giving it life. We draw in what we're constantly thinking about. You have to guard your mind. Fill it with what God promised you. In the first several weeks, she was so upset and so overwhelmed. She couldn't sleep at night, and could hardly function. She flipped on our Sirius XM radio channel. She heard me talking about how God has the final say, how he can do what medicine cannot do, and how when we put our trust in him, he can make ways where we don't see a way. Instead of dwelling on all the negative, playing the medical report over and over, she started playing another report, what God said about her. I will live and not die. God is restoring health back into me. Despite this diagnosis, I'm still going to get well. 6 weeks later, she went in for surgery. They thought they could do this procedure and prolong her life a little bit. Afterwards, the surgeon came out with a very puzzled look. He said, I have all the x-rays right here that show all the cancer, but when we went in, we couldn't find any cancer. You are perfectly healthy. They had no explanation. These were some of the leading experts, one of the most renowned hospitals in the world. That was God doing what only He can do.